The Way of a Mind Warrior. In this special workshop, I'd like to discuss what it means from a big picture perspective. The goal is to see how it all comes together and also provide some underlying context for the motivation of doing all this work on yourself. Let me begin with a quote from Immanuel Kant. "The greatest human quest is to know what one must do in order to become a human being." What does this mean, to become a human being? Well, I think it's about understanding our role in the universe as a connected, self-aware consciousness, that we're all more than our physical bodies, and the path we're on is more, much more than just consuming and producing things. What is the more? Well, that's what we must discover. I wrote the following in 1996. As the new millennium unfolds, it presents incredible challenges and opportunities. Science will unlock the genetic code, and all disease will be curable. Computers will connect everyone, everywhere, providing instant access to everything. Free energy will be perfected. People will travel the world in minutes. We will colonize space, journey to Mars and other planets. These things are within our reach now. Yet the mastery of genetics, atomics, and space travel are only side trips when compared to the main human journey. Science and technology have become the gods of Western society, the external world and its physical rewards the primary focus of our attention. In the next millennium, this will shift, and I predict so will the direction of the human adventure. The biggest and most important discoveries will come not from the external world, but from the journey within ourselves. Advances in science and technology will be marvelous and far-reaching, but not as profound as the realizations that lie dormant, hidden within us all. Mind is the true undiscovered country. The evolution of the human brain was completed some 50,000 years ago. And although its physical architecture has remained virtually the same, its untapped potential lays dormant, waiting to be awakened. Once we unlock its secrets, the destiny of mankind will be forever changed. The secret of enlightened human beings, such as Jesus or Buddha, was their ability to manipulate the energy of consciousness and coexist in both realms. A mind that is less evolved has simply not learned the way to use its consciousness to turn off the reality distortion field that surrounds them, creating the three-dimensional experience of time and space. My prediction for the new millennium are mental telepathy, clairvoyance, psychic healing, remote viewing, and other extrasensory perception abilities will not only be accepted and commonplace, but taught and developed in schools. Devices will be invented that will amplify our psychic powers. We will use the frequencies of sound and light to heal our mind and body and manipulate matter. Brain research will advance to a completely new level and reveal far-reaching secrets about the true nature of our minds. And my boldest prediction? The mind warriors who pursue the development of their inner potential will evolve consciousness at an ever-accelerated rate, increasing their mind power and leading the human race to a new era of enlightened awareness. The third millennium will become the millennium of mind. The fifth force. A major quest of science, physics in particular, has been to find a unified field theory, a force that connects the primary four forces of the universe, which are gravity, magnetism, weak nuclear force and strong nuclear force. It's actually the holy grail of physics, to find that fifth force in the universe, the theory that connects all the other forces, to explain how the universe operates. To understand precisely why the same particle can exist simultaneously in two different places at the same time. Or even stranger are the questions dealing with how the mind is able to influence the outcome of quantum events. Einstein spent most of his later life unsuccessfully searching for the unified field theory. Physicists have many partial theories that take into account some of the strange ways the universe seems to operate. However, they're still unable to discover the ultimate theory of the universe. Perhaps it's because the answer lies outside the boundaries of science, beyond what mathematics can quantify. The fifth force may be consciousness itself. The universe is mind, and the mind is a universe. As Marilyn Ferguson explains it in The Aquarian Conspiracy, in a nutshell, the holographic super theory states that our brains mathematically construct hard reality by interpreting frequencies from a dimension transcending time and space. The brain is a hologram, interpreting a holographic universe. Certain altered states experiences, such as deep meditative trance states that we've been talking about, reorganize the energy fields in your brain, opening your own personal wormhole into the universe, as it were. Once you've opened this window, you're now in contact with a new realm of possibilities, a boundless, timeless, ever-changing universe of probabilities where the past, present, and future do not exist. You've tapped into the infinite, the source of everything, where all that has ever happened or ever will happen occupy the same space. William Blake, an English poet who experienced such visions as a child, went on to produce a body of work to describe it. He wrote this: "To see the world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour." The path of a human being. During the early 80s, while I was floating, meditating, and experimenting with altered states experiences, I was actively seeking answers to life's biggest questions. To me, the ultimate question was, what is the purpose of the universe? It became my own private koan. To me, finding a suitable answer to this question was the key to it all. I'd meditate for hours and days at a time on this single question. There were moments when I felt I could almost grasp it, and then I would forget everything the next day. To me, though, this was the big philosophical question. I believed that if I could know the answer, that it would open a door of understanding and everything would fall into place. For several years, while I was experimenting with psychotechnologies, floating, reading, and doing seminars to improve my mind, this question was my focus. What is the purpose of the universe? One summer evening in July, I was out for a walk in the park and came across a Little League game in progress. It was a perfect evening. The sun was just setting. The smell of freshly cut grass floated along a gentle breeze. The kid at bat had just connected with the pitch and hit a long pop fly out into the middle of the field. He then began running the bases while his supporters were cheering him on. As he rounded third base, the pitcher scooped up the ball from an outfield pass and tossed it to the catcher, who tagged him out, and as he slid into home. At that very moment, I heard a voice inside my head say, "The purpose of the universe is to be." That was it. The big answer I was searching for, but it wasn't what I expected. The vision that flowed into my mind seemed too simple to be right. It took me some time afterward to assimilate and understand its greater meaning. My metaphor for the way the universe operated became the baseball game I was watching. A field with agreed-to dimensions and rules and players who interact with each other. You have witnesses, the parents, who cheer and coach the players. At the end of the game, everyone leaves the field and they come back in the future to play it out over again. Each game is totally unique with its own nuances and outcomes, although the process for playing it is the same. The game has no real purpose other than the joyful experience of playing it. I saw the universe playing out in a similar scenario. The key players, matter and energy, acting in this fluid and ever-changing interplay of creation and destruction. Matter, energy, and consciousness, all dynamically interwoven, interacting and influencing each other to create a matrix of existence, the purpose of which is to simply exist and play the game. Existence becomes its own purpose, the result of the experience of being. For me, this idea was a flashpoint, the perfect solution. It was a high point in my life. I wanted an answer, and it found me. The point of this universe is to experience existence and creation in all its forms. Life is everywhere on Earth. Every possible place it can exist, it does. Why? A lichen grows in Antarctica in a place where it's impossible for life to be. It's 80 degrees below zero and so dry it hasn't rained for 1,000 years. Yet it manages to cling to the underside of rocks, drawing its moisture and life from the rocks. New species are discovered at the bottom of the ocean where no plant life could possibly exist because there's no sunlight for photosynthesis. Yet tube-like plants do exist, miles down at the bottom of the ocean in total darkness, surviving by sucking energy from subterranean volcanic vents. To ask the question, does life exist elsewhere in the universe, is a little like asking, is there gambling in Las Vegas? There are infinite numbers of permutations possible within infinite levels of existence. Planet Earth is just one of the baseball games going on in space-time. As the game of the universe gets played out via the creation matrix, the game on planet Earth evolves. Life gets added to the matrix. It is self-organizing and adds many new combinations, layers, and nuances, and flavors to its existence. Existence is good. Life eventually becomes aware of itself. This is good. It adds to the consciousness stuff of the universe. The omega point. The stuff of the universe has a creative tendency to organize itself and develop into greater and greater levels of complexity. Why? To add to the consciousness stuff of the universe. That's why. According to Jesuit priest, scientist, and author Pierre Teilhard de Chardin's law of complexity consciousness states that this complexity is accompanied by a corresponding rise in consciousness. Teilhard writes, "The living world is constituted by consciousness, clothed in flesh and bone." His idea was this: as living organisms increase the diversity and complexity of their nervous connections, it gives birth to new consciousness. Evolution is creative, driving toward greater complexity and consciousness. Teilhard describes it as a crystallization of energy, a glow rippled outward from the first spark of conscious reflection. The point of ignition grows larger. The fire spreads in ever-widening circles till the whole planet is covered with incandescence. Teilhard's major thesis was that the mind goes through an evolutionary process of development until it reaches a level he called the omega point, the discovery of its own evolution. At this point, the entire human species has the potential to become enlightened all at once. This occurs within the collective soul of humanity as it achieves a critical mass of awareness. Consciousness rises to an evolutionary point where we all go online, so to speak, and we self-evolve into a new enlightened species. Which leads me to the point of all this. Consciousness is the prize, the reason for the universe to play the game. The resulting increase in consciousness is like a process of fusion. You end up with more than what you started with. Consciousness is the food of God, the point of playing out the game of existence. To be and to experience being, becomes its own purpose. It's the milk of existence. To evolve into new forms and experience it. To create and destroy and experience it. And so on, as the game of the universe continually expands and evolves. Matter and energy and consciousness interconnected in the web of existence for its own ultimate purpose, being. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. What matters is that you live, that you add your drop of existence to the consciousness stuff of the universe. That's the underlying mission for all of planet Earth and its occupants. And there's something more. As humans evolve into more complex, higher consciousness beings, we'll awaken from our sleep. Teilhard's omega point will be reached when enough self-realized human beings go online and critical mass is achieved. The transformation process is more to be experienced than studied. This program and others involving the Zygon technology are offered as agents of change. The goal of it all is to help you discover your own power within, to bring about the change on an individual level and then a planetary level. By applying this knowledge, you'll discover an amazing connectedness and cultivate an openness to new, perhaps even strange and deeper possibilities for your life than you ever thought possible. Although evolution can be a slow process with as many reversals and setbacks, as we approach the omega point and increase our consciousness energy, adding it to the collective soul of humanity, the earth gets a new skin. You're an important part of this grand plan, the great human adventure. It is the way of a mind warrior.